The night belongs to legends, and among them, none cast a shadow as long as his. Long before billion-dollar box office records, before endless debates about who wore the cowl best, before the term Dark Knight became a marketing slogan, he lived in sketches, in cells, in the glow of a television set. To generations of children, this was their Batman, animated, immortal. But behind the mask was not just a hero, there was a battleground of art, commerce, and imagination. Studios fought over him, writers reinvented him, actors breathed life into a silhouette. And across nearly a century, that silhouette changed, sometimes boldly, sometimes awkwardly, always enduring. Our journey begins in the 1940s. The world was at war, and superheroes were not yet pop culture empires. They were patriotic symbols, paper-bound escape routes for a weary generation. Superman had already soared into animation glory thanks to Fleischer Studios' lush rotoscoped shorts. Batman? He was a darker, stranger figure. His first true animated appearances were more like experiments. Cameos, fleeting glimpses in Superman-related media, brief wartime animation reels that lacked polish but planted a seed. They were stiff, their frames rationed by wartime budgets, their music borrowed, their impact forgotten by most. But not by history. It wasn't until 1968 that the first true Batman animated series arrived, The Adventures of Batman. Produced by Filmation, this was Batman stripped to the essentials. Bold outlines, bright colors, simple moral lessons. Olin Soule's voice was calm, responsible, almost avuncular, and Casey Kasem, the future voice of Shaggy, played Robin. These episodes were cranked out quickly, often reusing backgrounds, even sound effects, to meet Saturday morning schedules. There was no tortured psyche here. Batman was a scoutmaster in a cape. Yet this version taught millions of children the shapes of the myth, the Batmobile, the villains, the gadgets, the eternal bond between Bruce and Dick. Then came a team-up era that would dominate the 1970s and 80s. Super Friends. From 1973 to 1986, across a dizzying number of titles, Challenge of the Super Friends, the all-new Super Friends Hour, Batman became the moral anchor of a growing DC cartoon universe. First voiced again by Olin Soule and later reclaimed by Adam West, this was a Batman who rarely scowled. He worked side by side with Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and even two comic relief teen heroes, the Wonder Twins. Villains were goofy, plots were outlandish, and Gotham became less a city of crime than a backdrop for space-age morality plays. Critics called it toothless. Kids called it fun. But the comics were fermenting a revolution. In 1986, Frank Miller published The Dark Knight Returns, a grim operatic vision of an aging Batman in a corrupt city. Alan Moore's The Killing Joke explored the Joker's cruelty with unprecedented brutality. Fans were ready for a Batman who scared them again. And animation, surprisingly, would lead the charge. A date etched in Gotham's skyline. Warner Brothers launched Batman, the animated series, helmed by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski, with Paul Dini as one of its chief architects. This was no Saturday morning fluff. Its designs were inspired by 1930s Art Deco, its skies painted on black paper, its music, composed by Shirley Walker, sweeping, operatic, haunting. Kevin Conroy, a Juilliard-trained actor, stepped into the booth and made history. Unlike any before him, he gave Batman and Bruce Wayne distinct voices. One a wounded billionaire, the other a shadow of vengeance. Mark Hamill, cast almost by accident after Tim Curry was dropped, reinvented the Joker with a maniacal, unpredictable laugh that became the standard for 3 decades. Behind the scenes, the show was a creative crucible. Budgets were tight, censorship boards demanded compromises, and yet the team snuck in noir tragedy and psychological depth. Heart of Ice turned Mr. Freeze from a gimmick into a tragic anti-hero. Harley Quinn, created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm as a one-off henchwoman, exploded into a cultural icon. The series won Emmys, inspired toys, and birthed the DC animated universe. 1993's Mask of the Phantasm, originally planned as a direct-to-video release, shocked Warner Brothers with its quality. They sent it to theaters with almost no marketing, and though it flopped financially, it's now considered one of the greatest Batman films of all time, animated or not. It explored Bruce Wayne's lost love, his fears of happiness, his surrender to the cape. Through the 1990s and 2000s, Batman evolved with his universe. The new Batman adventures refined the style. Superman, the animated series, crossed over. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited made him the strategist, the skeptic, the heart of a pantheon. Then came a bold future. Batman Beyond, 1999. Set in a neon-drenched Gotham, it introduced Terry McGinnis, a teenager drawn into Bruce Wayne's secret world. Voiced by Will Friedle, this Batman was reckless, emotional, and very human. And Bruce? Kevin Conroy returned, not as the hero, but the mentor, the cranky, haunted old man who had survived too long. This series, once seen as a risky cash grab, became a cult classic, proving Batman was not a man, but a mantle. The 2000s experimented further. The Batman 2004 offered a sleeker martial arts heavy take, winning an Emmy for its fight choreography and using actors like Clancy Brown as recurring villains. Batman, the Brave and the Bold, 2008, embraced camp, pairing Batman with oddballs like Plastic Man and Blue Beetle, while allowing Diedrich Badder's voice to balance dry wit with gravitas. Its finale, a meta farewell where Batmite thanked Batman for existing, remains one of the most heartfelt send-offs in animation. Meanwhile, direct-to-video animated films became a thriving ecosystem. Under the Red Hood, 2010, with Jensen Ackles and Bruce Greenwood, told of Jason Todd's brutal resurrection. The Dark Knight Returns, 2012, adapted Miller's magnum opus. Batman, Bad Blood, Son of Batman, Batman, Hush, Gotham by Gaslight, Soul of the Dragon, each explored a corner of his mythos. Even the infamous Killing Joke adaptation, 2016, controversial for its creative liberties, showed how fiercely fans protect their animated Dark Knight. Batman also fractured into multiverses. Will Arnett's Lego Batman lampooned the entire mythos with surprising heart. Batman Ninja threw him into feudal Japan. Crossovers with Scooby-Doo and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reminded us, Batman is both a totem of fear and a friend to Saturday morning. And then came loss. In November 2022, Kevin Conroy passed away. His Batman had lasted 30 years. Conroy, who had found solace in the character during his own struggles, became for many the definitive voice, not just of Batman, but of strength through pain. Mark Hamill, his greatest foil, retired the Joker in his honor. Now, as 2025 dawns, the cape flaps once again. Batman, Caped Crusader, from Bruce Timm, Matt Reeves, and J.J. Abrams, promises to revisit the noir roots with modern sophistication. New animation styles, from hyperreal CGI to bold anime, wait to redefine the myth. And what do we learn, tracing this line from shaky 1940s cells to today's sprawling animated multiverse? That Batman is not one story. He is a mirror. In the 60s, he was camp. In the 90s, he was gothic justice. In the 2000s, a mentor and a myth. For some, he's a punchline. For others, a protector. Always changing, always there. So tonight, look at the skyline. Remember your Batman. Was it the cheerful Super Friends detective? The tortured animated series Knight? The neon vigilante of Batman Beyond? Or the wise, weary figure of Justice League? They are all the same man. They are all the same shadow. And the moment a new generation presses play, he will rise again. If this journey through Gotham's animated legacy brought you back to those nights by the glow of a TV, share it. Tell your story. Which Batman saved your childhood? Which voice still echoes in your head? Hit subscribe, because the bat signal will shine again, and when it does, you'll want to be here to see it. The Dark Knight is eternal, in ink, in pixels, in memory, always waiting in the dark.